Okay, so you were going to share, you're sharing with me your framework, your viewpoint on meditation,
Yeah.
and from our discussion just a few minutes ago, it seems like you have a fresh perspective, a new perspective, maybe
Mm,
not a new perspective, but a perspective that's a little bit different from what people usually think of when they think of meditation. So I'm excited to hear about it.
yeah, thank you. Well, especially because there are all those images out there. It just kills me. All those images of the beautiful, usually white women sitting in lotus pose in their snug little yoga, things. And that's, people think that, well, if I'm not doing that, then it's not meditation. So, I mean, first of all, meditation is so many different things. There's not one way to meditate. It's not just this one thing. And if it is just one thing, that one thing is focused awareness. Where are you focusing your attention and your awareness?
Mm-hmm.
That's really that's the whole story. So there's meditations that are about, transcendence, and there are meditations that are about, being with your body, working with your emotions. But it's at its core, it's about how are you harnessing your awareness. So when people come to my classes, some people have had no experience whatsoever with meditation. Some people have tried it and felt like they failed because they couldn't clear their mind of thoughts. So one of the very first things I do is dispel people of the notion that they're supposed to be clearing their mind of thoughts. That's not the goal. The goal is to make friends with your mind and to learn about yourself and to watch your thoughts and see what arises and work with that material either on your cushion or afterwards. And yeah, so if my thing I always say is, if you think that meditation is that you're supposed to just be able to sit down and magically clear your mind of thoughts, you're sunk before you begin, and
That,
you're setting yourself up for failure.
that is so true. I know you've had your chart read and stuff, and I can't remember what your chart looks like, but if those top two centers in your human design chart are colored in, if they're defined, and mine are, you know,
I
it
don't
is,
remember. I'd have to look at
yeah,
it.
it's impossible a lot of times for me to just sit and meditate because my mind consistently thinks and works.
But that's
So,
what minds do. That's
yeah,
their job. The
yeah,
mind's job is to create thought. Now, and there are different types of thought, right? So there's constructive thought. There's the thought that, helped somebody design this pen. Thank you very much, right? Helps people figure out how to build houses and make planes fly and put cars together. Like, that's great. And then there's that discursive thought that the monkey mind, right, that goes around and around and around and is often quite negative. And then there's all the neuroscience behind that. So like it's huge. It's really like, it's a simple thing. I always say I can teach somebody how to meditate, basic mindfulness based meditation. I can teach you how to meditate in about 2 to 5 minutes. That doesn't mean you're going to just be able to do it, or that it's easy, or that it's easy to be consistent with your practice. And that's really where the magic happens.
yeah. I mean, you can know how to meditate, but but doing it is really a whole different. I mean, you have to do it. It's kind of like in human design, following your strategy and authority, and this is why we're having this conversation, because
Yeah.
meditation is, for me, at least in my experience, has been such a key way for me to become more of the observer in my experience as I've gone through my human design journey, to get out of the gyrations of that, the conditioned or the negativity or the whatever it is that goes on in my head because of whatever has been in the past, or what's coming up for healing, and to just be in that place of, what did you call it, focused awareness.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, where were we going with that?
Let everything be what it is, which is one of the hardest things to do. Well, there's, again, like the more we're talking, and we were going to do like a simple conversation to get some key points down, and now I'm like, oh my God, I got splashed with a little bit of water, and now I realize I'm in the middle of the ocean. There's so much, there's the neuroscience of how we're wired for negativity. So for me, just having an understanding of that is very helpful, understanding a bit about how the brain works. So, because we tend to just think it's me, the individual, having this experience and beating myself up. So there's that aspect. There's the neuroscience aspect, which is just, fascinating, and I find really helpful to understand. Then there are some very basic Buddhist teachings about suffering, right? So there's what's called primary suffering, like the first noble truth of the Buddha is like, if you're alive, you're going to suffer. It's just the way it is. You're going to get sick. You're going to hurt yourself. Your heart's going to get broken. People are going to die. Stuff happens. The kitty concurs.
Yes.
The kitty says, I suffer so much. They don't just love me every moment. So there's that, which is just inescapable and part of the human condition. And then there's the secondary suffering, which is all the stuff we put on top of it. It's like, ow, I stubbed my toe. Well, that really hurts. But then if you add on to it, oh my God, I'm so stupid. I can't believe I stubbed my toe on that table last week, and I said I was going to move it, and I didn't move it, and ow, now my toe.
Yes. That's really
what
interesting.
we have control over.
Yeah, and this is really interesting because I just posted a video about how on emotions, because I'm opening the door of conversation about emotions. And it's the same thing. It's like the main crux of that particular video is that emotions aren't personal, they're chemical reactions. And what makes them feel so personal is the meaning that we attach. And that's exactly what you're talking about, the story. So how does that dovetail into your framework for meditation?
Right. So most of all, so again, it's one thing to have an understanding of something, to have the knowledge, like somebody could be watching this, maybe not have heard that before and go, oh, how interesting, I get it. But that's not necessarily going to change your reaction the next time or next week or next month. It's kind of like, you don't just go to the gym once and go, great bicep, I'm done. You have to keep going. You got to keep working that muscle. So there's this thing called neuroplasticity, which is, they used to think the brain was kind of set at a certain age and that was it for the rest of your life. And they now know that's not true. But neuroplasticity doesn't just happen. You have to work it. You have to groove these new pathways by doing the practice consistently. Just like you build that bicep muscle by going to the gym consistently or whatever you're doing at home, lifting a can of peas, something. But if you don't do something, it's not really going to change that muscle. If you're not engaging ongoingly in a meditation practice, you'll have that information and that understanding, but you won't gain the wisdom and you won't really change your responses so easily.
Yeah. So it is the practice.
Yeah. It really is. It's the practice, and it's the showing up for yourself no matter what. Like, people want meditation to be this blissful experience, and it so often isn't. And I often tell my students, you're having a good meditation if you sit down with the intention to meditate and you set your timer and you stay until the timer goes off.
Right. Yeah.
That's a great meditation.
It's a lot of times it's easier said than done.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. So much easier said than done.
Yeah.
And the point of power in the practice is when you find yourself having moved away from your point of focus, which, in basic mindfulness, it's the breath and the movement of the breath in the body, which to me is also fabulous, because how often are we really aware of our breath? You know, there's basic normal breathing that just, you know, as you're staying alive day-to-day breathing, you don't even think about. It's like this really miraculous thing happening in your body and in your being. It's the thing that ties you to life. Mostly we don't pay any attention. So it's not a breathing exercise like, you know, pranayama and yoga, but just to sit and really be aware and feel your breath moving in your body is a very beautiful foundational practice. And then when you notice that your mind has wandered, which is going to do, you know, in some practices, you really name exactly what it is, you know, anger, sadness, fear, whatever. But you note it, you don't then put other layers on top of it. You note it and you come back. You note and you come back. And that's where the practice happens, is in that moment of catching yourself and going, oh, there I go.
Yeah. Yeah, you know, as you're articulating that, it's so pertinent to the human design experiment or the journey, you know, of noting when am I living out of alignment with who I am, and then just gently coming back.
Yeah.
Gently coming back. And it is the ongoing practice of awareness, and whether you're using the breath, or you're looking at your chart or whatever it is and reflecting on, you know, what just happened.
Right.
We're talking about managing emotions or whatever, you know, there's that, oh, this is happening. I'm noticing myself, my body this way. I'm noticing my breath this way. I'm noticing, you know, myself in relation to the other person in this way right now.
Yeah.
And this is where my center is. This is where my home is inside of me. I'm going to come back.
It's beautiful. Yeah, exactly. I came up with this thing, you know, a few years ago. They say, you know, with the, in the law, they say possession is 9/10 of the law. I say awareness is 9/10 of the journey.
That's so brilliant. Awareness is 9/10 of the journey. It's so true.
In any given moment. And what's funny about this for me is it's like a goalless path. You know, you're not just going to get to this place where it's like, oh, and everything's good and you're always going to just be mellow and serene no matter what goes on. But your responsiveness is going to be different, and your emotional resilience is going to be different, and your emotional well-being is going to be different, which means you're going to show up more the way you want to be, more according to your design, you know, when you're with the people that are challenging or that, you know, trigger stuff in you or whatever. You're building that emotional resilience. And I had trouble tracking my thought because I had something else I wanted to say, but it'll come back if it's really helpful.
So part of your framework is focused awareness, and then there's the practice, and then is there more?
There's staying with the practice, and there's being kind to yourself.
Yes.
And I mean, like, incredibly deep, not syrupy, and not spiritual bypassing, right? Spiritual bypassing where people just want to make everything good and everything nice. But true compassion for yourself, like, oh, I screwed up. Oh, you know, it's okay. You know, you're human. You're doing your best. You've come a long way. And oh my goodness, you still said that dopey thing to your friend. Wow. Okay. You know, what a good human being you are. You know?
Yeah, and as you say that, that's that space of neutrality where and that, I'm thinking about the last video on emotions that I did, of getting into this place where you can kind of observe and be aware in a place of neutrality where, okay, I screwed up or I reacted in a negative way, and it is what it is. There's no judgment there. It's just part of that acknowledgement and acceptance to realign back to here.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's in not letting yourself off the hook that we get trapped and we get stuck and we feel bad about ourselves or we beat ourselves up. It's like, we're all human and we're imperfect and we're designed that way. Like there is no perfection. Like, is there a chart where everything is filled in? Like there's reasons, right? And I don't know so much about human design as I would like, but there's a reason why some of the centers are open.
Yeah, and well, ultimately, because that's where we cultivate wisdom. But if everybody's chart has something in it that we're like themes that we work from that are kind of juxtaposed, that sometimes create friction, sometimes create a sense of inner struggle, that we're really here to reconcile so that we can master ourselves in this human experience.
Yeah, that's a beautiful way of putting it. And I know well, we're talking right before the Thanksgiving holiday in the US, and I just did a little live video for my followers about, just how do you show up and maybe even sort of front load and prepare ahead of time for, because you always go in thinking, oh, this year's going to be different, right? If there's stuff that comes up or, people who trigger you, you go in with the best of intentions. And then if something comes up, it's not always easy to respond in the moment. But again, these practices, like I had an experience a couple of years ago, and this is, for my family, this is like a main holiday because we don't we have different ways of approaching our Jewish faith and practices. And so, we Thanksgiving's great. It's neutral, right? And there's one person in my family that can, for me, really be, a bit challenging. But I'm usually on the outside. Usually stuff is going on with other family members, and I stay up. But a couple of years ago, something happened where it was about me and something where I was feeling, attacked and stuff was going on. And I was able to be with it and to deal with it in such a different way than I would have several years before. And I even said to my husband on the way home, and I was feeling all the feelings, but I really held my ground and I really held my center. And I said to him, thank God I've been meditating so consistently over these past bunch of years. It used to be a fairly inconsistent thing in my life. And then I really got much more focused on it as a regular practice. And I thought, thank God, because I was really able to ride this really tempestuous moment that I don't usually have those kinds of interactions with people.
Yeah. I love your testimony to your personal testimony.
That's all I could say on the way home as I was vibing. I was like, thank God for my practices.
That's awesome. That is so awesome, and that's why I really wanted to get your take on meditation and to share it with some of the people that are coming from the human design angle on the power of this tool of meditation and how it can really assist you in aligning to who you really are. And I know, we talked about practice. We've talked about practicing to cultivate this sense of focused awareness. And then you gave this example of, how valuable that is in your real life, right? So I know you've got some stuff coming up. Do you want to share what you've got coming up in December and then what that's going to lead to in the new year?
Thank you. Yeah, that's awesome. So I've got a couple of free calls. I'm calling Light Your Way into Winter, or Light Your Way Through Winter. One is on the last night of Hanukkah, which is December 10th this year. And that's going to be that's a potent juxtaposition because that's when we have our menorahs full of candles and really offers a lot of light. So we'll get together on that day at 7 p.m. Eastern. And then I'm also doing another call on the solstice on the 21st. And I'll be offering that at 2 in the afternoon. I never know how to decide times because people are in different zones, or they're self-employed, or they have a job. So we'll do one in the evening. I'll do the second one at 2 in the afternoon Eastern. And they're free. Anybody can come and join. We'll be in a Zoom video chat room so that we can really be together from wherever we are. And I'll be guiding meditations and some other guided experiences to really help cultivate this awareness. I think meditation for a lot of people is easier when you're being guided, and it's also often easier and has a different kind of potency when you're in a community, in a group, because that group energy really helps build and hold you. You know, sometimes when I'm meditating by myself, I kind of let myself lean into the Sangha, the greater community that I know I'm a part of other people who meditate.
Yeah. So I'm gonna be sure to post the link to that so people can get in. And then this is kind of to introduce people to the process, to, you know, and also to, I guess, to celebrate the sacredness of the season as well.
Yeah. And to help people kind of get through the holidays, because you know, we want it all to be sweet and wonderful and looking like a Hallmark, you know, show or something, but
sometimes it's so not that.
You know, and you know, and then I'm very into, like, you know, how do you hold everything? It's like the paradox of, you know, I love these people, I do want to be with them, and they make me crazy. You know? I mean, maybe not, but there's always, I don't know, it seems to me for most people, that's the nature of family.
There's always some kind of stress.
That's the nature of, right, even if it's just the stress of, oh my God, I have to get the house clean and do all this cooking. And then how do you be with yourself around that? So those are 2 calls that I'm going to offer, and you can do one, you can do both. I'm making it very accessible. And I'll also be then in those calls introducing people to a 4-week meditation online course that I'm going to be starting in January. That'll be January 10th. And it will be 4 weeks of coming together and really learning how to cultivate a practice for yourself, and also experiencing a lot of different approaches to meditation, because my main goal always, I'm like very non-dogmatic about it. I want to help each person find their practice. So
that's beautiful.
For some people, it might be the breath. For some people, it's a mantra or the loving kindness practice, which is a series of phrases of cultivating compassion. You know, for some people, eyes closed is best. For some people, eyes open, but soft gaze is like, wow, I never tried to meditate with my eyes not closed, and that was so much easier. So for some people, you know, it's going to be walking meditation. It's going to be cutting vegetables meditation. Like, you know, so to help people really get comfortable with the fact that there isn't just this one way. And if you're not doing it that way, you're not going to be able to do it.
And will there, in the January series, will there be an opportunity to really cultivate the practice, to really ground and root the actual practice?
Yeah, that's what's really key to me. I mean, certainly it's not going to be an hour of teaching, and it's not going to be an hour of practice. It's going to be some teaching, some inspiration, several different short practice periods. Because also there's an interesting power to kind of layering, right? You do one practice and then you do another sit soon after. And then you get to really see, oh, it was easy the first time. It was more challenging the second time. Okay. And now how are you going to be with that? Like, that's what it is.
Great.
Yeah.
Yeah, it sounds really powerful. I can't wait to see how that, you know, how it all comes together and how it all works out. I'm intending to do it, so because once a year I do a meditation retreat, or I do some kind of retreat, so I want to participate in this one. It sounds actually very similar to the one that I did last year. That I was there.
Right.
And it was very powerful.
And mostly I've taught this class, the 4-week course, mostly in person, and then I did teach it virtually another time, but I didn't use the video platform. I was using the phone, which was still very powerful.
Mm-hmm.
Had everybody on a conference call.
So this time it's going to be on video.
Going to be on video, so people can really be together and really feel like, you know, like we're establishing some relationship and some a community.
Great, great. And also the free December calls are going to be on video. Oh, that's going to be really awesome. I can already feel the power of that. So
thank you. I know I've become so enamored of this Zoom platform. It's like, oh my God, I get to hang out with Sandy, who's in Tennessee. And
yeah, and you're in New York, Sharon, and that I think I think it's incredible that we get to meet like this, and that we get to bring, you know, friends and future friends and all kinds of people online with us. So it's awesome. Sharon, thanks so much for just coming on and doing this conversation. I know we weren't quite planning to actually record it and get it up, but what you shared was just so valuable that I want to make sure that I get it out to the people who are actually following me and interested in really growing and developing themselves through their human design chart, because that's who's usually attracted to me, but also having this extra tool or having this opportunity to perhaps hone the tool that they're already using of meditation in a way where they can really make it theirs. And it sounds like you've got some perspective there and some training and some wisdom and background to help a lot of people that may be interested in what I'm doing and also can benefit from what you're doing. So thanks for this conversation. I really appreciate it.
Always a pleasure. Yeah, thanks.